evening. I'd like to call to order the October 20th.
You have to adjourn the agenda meeting.
Oh, yes, thank you. I apologize. I'd first like to adjourn the agenda meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn the agenda meeting?
Move.
Second. Roll call?
Mr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. McAvoy.
Yes.
Mr. Marnak.
Yes.
Mr. Schubager.
Yes.
Mrs. Torella.
Yes. Now I will call to order the October 20th, 2014 meeting. Adequate notice of this meeting was forwarded to the Asbury Park Press and the Beacon on January 8th, 2014 by posting the notice in the Forked River Post Office and the Lenoka Harbor Post Office, and by filing a copy of the notice with the Lacey Township Clerk as required by the Open Public Meeting Act. Will everybody please stand and salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And in regard to the agenda meeting, first of all, do I have, bringing everybody's attention to page 23. Is there a motion to approve the minutes and the attachments to the agenda regular meeting held on September 15th, 2014?
Move. Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. McAvoy.
Yes.
Mr. Marnak.
Yes.
Mr. Schubager.
Yes.
Mrs. Torella.
Abstain, I was sick that day. In regard to the next motion, do I have a motion to move that the board approve the minutes for the private session held on September 15th, 2014?
Move.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Mr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. McAvoy.
Yes.
Mr. Marnak.
Yes.
Mr. Schubager.
Yes.
Mrs. Torella.
Abstain. In regard to the paying of the bills. Thank you. Do I have a motion to move to approve the payment of the bills totaling $6,881,000? I can never say this, Mr. Thousand, thank you. $671.88.
Move it.
Second? Second for the
Second.
payment? Oh, thank you. Roll call?
Mr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. McAvoy.
Yes, I'd like to abstain on the last bill on page 45.
So yes on all the bills and abstain on the one.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Marnak.
Yes.
Mr. Schubager.
Yes.
Mrs. Torella.
Yes. Through the adoption of the
Move.
thank you.
Second. Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. McAvoy.
Yes.
Mr. Marnak.
Yes.
Mr. Schubager.
Yes.
Mrs. Torella.
Yes. And Mr. Stein, do you have an attorney's report tonight?
Nothing beyond what we discussed earlier in the agenda meeting.
Thank you very much. Now we have our student representatives. Who would like to go first tonight?
I'll go first tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Today we found out our senior superlatives. Mackenzie just happened to win Most School Spirited and Most Likely to Become Famous. And I myself won Most Likely to Come Back as an LTHS teacher. I didn't see it. But other than that, our cap and gown forms are online this year. So far they've been working well. All the seniors have until October 30th to go in and enter their height, weight, and answer the various questions for their cap and gown forms. We also have the Speedball Tournament coming up next month. It was a big hit last year. We hope to do it again. It's going to be a really big fundraiser for us this year. Mackenzie and I also talked about doing a Sweatshirt Fundraiser in the winter. In addition to getting our senior t-shirts, which we get for free at the end of the year, we're going to try and sell class of 2015 sweatshirts to wear throughout the year. Also, on prom, we booked our DJ, and we also ordered flowers. And And right now, we're in the process of ordering an iPad and a set of Beats headphones for the senior raffle.
Okay. For this week, we have Spirit Week. So today was Class Colors Day. So each class had a different color. The seniors had orange, the juniors had green, the sophomores had purple, and the freshmen had red. It was a really big hit. We went all out. I was wearing a tutu. He painted his hair. It was great. So we have homecoming this weekend. So we're all going to set up for homecoming on Friday. And last Saturday, we made decorations, like handmade, to set up on Friday to get a head start. And then homecoming is Saturday. And the underclassmen are responsible for cleanup the next morning on Sunday. This week, for Spirit Week, we also have door decorating contests. So teachers submitted their room number to Mrs. York, our advisor, and we decorated their doors, and administration will judge the doors, and whichever class wins gets $50 towards their class account. And we also have penny wars. So in the cafeteria, there's water jugs, and pennies are positive points, and any other money like papers or like nickels and dimes and stuff are negative points. So we could put like a $20 bill in the freshmen, and they'll be negative, like however many points that is in pennies, and then whoever has the most positive points will win all the money in all of the jugs. So that's for Spirit Week, and I just want to say that block scheduling has been going really well. We're all just starting to get used to it, and we all really like it. And my last thing is we raised $323 just in one day last week for the food bank for Teacher Jean Day plus food donations. So that was a really big hit, and we're really proud of that. So now I'll read the unsung hero. October's Matt Blum Unsung Hero Award recipient is Winter Rose Barney. She has shown an incredible amount of dedication to the school community while attending Lacey Township High School. Winter is involved with the concert, jazz, and marching bands, stage manages for the drama department, takes part in the math team, and works in WLTS. Winter won 3rd place in the Science Fair film category last year, was one of the first students at Lacey to take part in the STEM program, and has extended community involvement as a Venture Scout. Winter strives for academic success in all honors classes and AP Calculus course as a junior, and stretched above and beyond completing a Film 101 course at DeSales University this past summer. Her aspirations include stage and studio management as well as work in gaffing. Many of the events here at Lacey Township High School wouldn't be possible without the skill and dedication of this month's unsung hero, Winter Rose Barney. Congratulations. Winter's with her mom, so if you want to stand up and recognize her.
Thank you. Anything else from the student reps? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Vice President Trella. Before I turn the meeting over to Mr. Hanshu to share with us and celebrate his students of the month, I thought I would just take a minute and share with you a little bit about this month's Superintendent's Report. So the first thing, and I did mention it last month, and I'm going to mention it again, that we have been encouraging our schools to adopt a cover, and so this month's school adoption was from the Mill Pond School, 6th grade, Maeve Schubauer, so we're thrilled with your cover, a representation of a beautiful scarecrow for fall. I also want to point out to you that I've included a new data set for you on page 1, which is attendance. So in addition to the enrollment numbers, you'll see the attendance, and that's a new feature in the report as well. And there is so much in this month's report that I have to encourage you to take one and read it, because the student recognition, the teacher recognition, the celebration is just awesome. I want to take a moment, and our principals did recognize our local fire department and their assistance in helping our students understand the importance of Fire Prevention Week, so I want to thank them as well. I also want to mention that this summer we encouraged all of our students to be involved in summer reading, and you may have noticed that our principals did put the number of books read when they were able to calculate that, so you'll see that featured in this month's report as well. I also want to mention to you that new this month, you will also see a report from the middle school principal, Mr. King, and a very extensive report from Mr. Hanshu as well. Those are new additions to the superintendent's report, so I'm going to encourage you to take some time to notice that and recognize their achievements as well. Red Ribbon Week is our last week in October. It's celebrated really nationally, and I want to commend the high school guidance department for their work in particularly identifying Dr. Raj, who will be here, and I believe that's October 30th at 6:30. And so you'll visit our website and you'll get some information about Dr. Raj, but he'll be doing his presentation on the causes of addiction and what causes children to get involved in drugs. I'm encouraging all of our parents to come that night. Red Ribbon Week is not only celebrated in our high school, where our high school guidance department and our student assistance counselors, but in all of our schools. So I want to take a moment and just commend our staff and our students for remaining committed to being drug-free. I want to point out to you on page 13, which I was absolutely thrilled to read about, and I want to celebrate the 3 students from Ms. Strino's 5th grade class from last year who are now currently 6th graders, who were published in a new book called 360 Days of Wonder. So I hope you'll take a moment. They were recognized nationally. Out of thousands of entries, 3 students were accepted from Ms. Strino's class. So that is really something to celebrate, quite an accomplishment. And I wanted to share with you again how much we appreciate and recognize and celebrate all that's happening in our schools. And the superintendent's reports puts that right into your hands. So please take a moment and read it. I think you'll find it quite enjoyable. So with that, I'm going to introduce Mr. Hanshu, who will talk to you about 2 students that he wants to celebrate as well.
All right, thank you, Dr. Brower. May I invite the board to join us
Certainly.
up in the audience so we can see our video. It always gives me great pleasure to introduce to you and speak with you about our students of the month. Our first student of the month is Erin Chinaski. Hello, I'm Mr. Hanshu, and welcome to Senior Spotlight October, where we meet our outstanding seniors of the month. Joining me now is Erin Chinaski, who is an exceptional student who ranks in the 10th in her class and is involved in a variety of extracurricular activities and volunteer work. Can you tell us about the activities that you're involved with?
I do hockey right now, and I'm in NHS and FBLA.
I saw you out there on the hockey field. You guys are pretty good. Can you tell us about your volunteer work?
Yeah, over the summer, I worked with the Deaf Kids program at the summer school. I would help them in the summer school program. And with NHS, I do some volunteer work. Like last year, I did blood drive and just work like that.
That's excellent. How about outside of school? What do you do outside of school?
Right now, I'm busy with field hockey. So,
That takes up a lot of your time.
Yeah.
Coach, I know she runs you hard.
yeah.
What are your future plans?
I want to do go to med school, go to college to be a biology major, and then I think I want to be a doctor or a vet.
Excellent. Any schools in mind?
I'm thinking about TCMJ.
That's great. Good luck. We're going to miss you when you go there. Congratulations, Erin, on your selection of Senior of the Month. We'll be right back with Paul Toth.
And Erin's here with her family. Erin's family over there.
Erin, I'd like to present this to you. You worked very, very hard. We're so proud of you. Thank you for sharing all this with us. And is your family here? If they could stand up, we give them a hand.
All right, next up is our Senior of the Month, Paul Toth. Paul. And Paul's here with his family. If they would please stand. Congratulations. Paul also does our morning announcements, so you'll see how it is when he gets interviewed. It's kind of a high spot for me, you know, to interview one of our good ones here on the TV. Go ahead.
There we go.
Welcome back to Senior Spotlight October. Now joining us is Senior of the Month, Paul Toth. Paul is the Senior Class President, is involved in a number of extracurricular activities and community service activities, and is academically ranked 19th in his class. Paul, can you tell us about your balance of school and community involvement and still maintaining high standards in the classroom?
Well, it is really, really hard, but yeah, I try to make it work as best as possible. I mean, just like the little time that I have, like in between activities and stuff, is time I have to spend doing homework and other things.
But you still have time to wear orange on Spirit Day.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have school spirit, and I think I have to show it because I think we're lacking a little bit of school spirit. I'm just trying to bring everyone up.
Nice job. You look good in orange. A little blinding, but you look very good in orange.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about your involvement in extracurricular activities?
Well, right now, I am the Senior Class President in SGA. I'm also in NHS. I also partake here at the studio. I don't even know what else to say. I do 3 sports. Right now I'm in soccer. Yeah, that's really it.
With all the stuff you do in school, what do you do outside of school?
Outside of school, I'm currently working a part-time job, and I also volunteer with the Parcc Consortium Baptist Church Youth Group. I think that's it.
Stay quite busy in and out of school.
Yes.
That's great. What are your future plans?
I want to go to college to study broadcast journalism and sports media.
And do you have any plans on where you're going to go?
Hopefully, at some point, maybe ESPN or something like that.
Excellent. Hey, remember me. You need to drop my name every once in a while. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, Paul, on selection Senior of the Month. We'll be right back with Vocational Senior of the Month, Taylor McRae.
On behalf of Lacey School Board, congratulations. Thank you. And you look good in orange hair, too. Good job.
Next up, we have our vocational student, Taylor McRae. I don't believe she's here tonight. She told me she had to work this evening, but she'll be at our next board meeting. Can we roll her video, though, please? Thank you. Welcome back to Senior Spotlight October, where we meet our outstanding Seniors of the Month. Joining me now is our Vocation Senior of the Month for October, Taylor McRae. Taylor, can you tell us about what you do at your program in the vocational school?
In cosmetology, we study hair, skin, and nails, and we just like to use our creativity to help people look beautiful.
What made you decide to do the cosmetology program at vocational school?
I'm a very creative person, and I like making people smile, so knowing I can make someone smile by looking beautiful is something I like to do.
Now, I know this is a tough question, but tell us about some of the awards and honors that you've earned at vocational school.
At the vocational school, I took first place in a regional competition. I also have a Presidential Academic Award, a Perfect Attendance Award, and also I have an Outstanding English Award.
And congratulations, you represent Lacey very well.
Thank you.
What are your future plans?
I want to go to college to study psychology.
That's excellent.
Thank you.
Well, good luck. Congratulations, Taylor, on your selection of Senior of the Month. Thank you for joining us on Senior Spotlight October. We'll see you next month.
All right, thank you, Dr. Brower, for yielding the floor to me, and hopefully we'll see everybody at Ribbon Week night. Thank you very much.
Board members, I'm going to ask you to have a seat because we have two very special presentations, our Student Achievement Report, but first, it is my pleasure and a privilege to introduce to you Brenda Camaligan. So I'm going to ask Brenda to come up with Mr. Fiedler, her principal, and we have some very exciting news to share with you. There's the camera. How are we doing, Mr. Lytle? Can you see all of us?
Yes, I can.
All right. So, this is the National Teacher Council of Mathematics Journal. And it is published nationally. And I don't know currently approximately how many members, but I would probably venture to guess up to 100,000 teachers across our nation receive this journal. And Brenda Camaligan is featured as an author in one of these articles here in her story of using blocks to make igloos. Is that correct? And so I hope that you had an opportunity to grab her article because I printed it for you right outside. And when you, Brenda, help me find it. Page 140. There it is. Here it is. So, the title of the journal is Pattern Blocks, How to Grow, How Does Your Igloo Grow? And it was pretty awesome to read, and I want to share with you, Brenda, hold this, because you wrote it. I want to share with you a few things that I was able to capture when I read this. Brenda talked about how we were capitalizing on children's natural ability and natural area of discovery to explore patterns. One student had really talked about how he had never thought he could be so excited and, in fact, featured the work of discovery on using these igloos. Camaligan used the task to uncover the needs of her students, their understanding of growing patterns, and also of geometry and the use of problem-solving strategies employed by her students. Students felt empowered. This is an awesome, awesome accomplishment. And I wanted to try to understand a little bit more about Brenda. So I went into her personnel file and I shared with her tonight that she looks like she applied to work with us back in 2004, so about 10 years ago. And about 10 years ago, she wrote her philosophy of education. I want to share a few things with you. Brenda talked about children needing to develop their sense of curiosity and wonder. And that is what you're going to read about in that article. She talked about how she wanted to provide her students with an environment where they are encouraged to challenge themselves by taking risks, by asking questions and sharing ideas. She talked about her curiosity being stirred by the fact that her mother was an industrial chemist who turned educator. She talked about how she really wanted to develop knowledge of science in creative and interesting ways. She talked about how she connected with her third grade teacher because of their joint interest in dance. Do you remember? And she supported her, Brenda, by encouraging her to follow her dreams, to do her best work. She said that when she became a mother, she wanted to make sure that her children's love of discovery and learning was also there fulfilled. She talked about wanting to make sure that her students understood a joy of lifelong learning and a genuine desire to utilize her natural teaching abilities. She talked about being intriguing and engaging with learning, motivation, and passion. She said that I believe that every child can learn. And I will tell you that sentence right there, I believe that every child can learn, is not often found for everyone, that not everyone believes that. Brenda wrote that. And she finished with, I want every child to leave my class with greater knowledge and appreciation of knowledge that they have obtained and enhanced joy of learning. You are a role model for teachers across our nation, and we are just so honored that you're here with us today and that you're on staff at Parcc River. And I know that Mr. Fiedler, too, has a few words to share as well. Are you okay there? I'm going to move back here, Mr. Fiedler.
So what is interesting about Mrs. Kamaligan is she is a career change educator. She formerly served in the healthcare field as a licensed physical therapist. Mrs. Kamaligan's career in education began at the Parcc River School about 10 years ago. She first served as a 3rd and 4th grade multi-age teacher, and for the past 3 to 4 years has taught basic skills math in grades 3 and 4. Mrs. Kamaligan has embraced the 21st century shift in mathematical instruction, as evidenced by her article, and strives every day to guide her students in that discovery of mathematical concepts. She's been instrumental in the implementation of our Envision Math program, in assisting colleagues, students, and parents with that transition. On behalf of the Parcc River School, the Board of Education, Dr. Brower, Dr. Clark, we are so proud of you for your article, and we hope to see many more.
So on behalf of the Board of Education, this certificate is presented to you, Brenda Kamaligan, for your dedication and excellence to the art of teaching and learning and sharing your expertise with the nation. Congratulations. Can I have it, but it says your name on it? Okay.
We'll have the article
Get another
signing
one.
after.
Thank you. Awesome. You want to dismiss our students?
Next week, the Dr. Brown, I should say, is going to do a presentation on the achievements in the district, where we are now, where we need to go. And it's a lengthy presentation, PowerPoint. It will be about 100 PowerPoints. We will talk about, like I said. That was your PowerPoint. So 100. How long? About a half hour. So needless to say, any students or high school principals who need to get to bed so they can get to school on time, we will take a brief recess so that you can adjourn and get back to your studies or what you said.
All right, so we're going to get started. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Down, and well, I can do that right now, right? And then I'm just going to turn sideways. Oh, I'm cut off. That's new. That's unfortunate. It's okay, Tom. Don't worry about it. So, Vanessa, it's just this right arrow that you're going to click. I am going to speak from here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm probably going to move around. So let me see. All right. Mr. Schubig, are you going? All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. So we're very proud. Every fall we want to take a moment and share with you our achievements, and so tonight's presentation will do just that. I want to recognize all of the staff in the audience. I see you, and I'm so grateful that you are here, so thank you. So let's get started. We're going to get started with our first slide that we've entitled Lacey's Points of Pride. Tonight you are going to learn about our very impressive gains in 3rd grade reading and writing student achievement. You're going to hear about awesome, impressive gains in grade 7 math. You're going to learn that we have just outperformed 14 out of 16 categories compared to our DFG on a New Jersey Ask last year's administration. In the same administration, outperforming 14 out of 16 categories across the state. With our NWEA formative testing program, we have exceeded all of the national norms in all levels K-8. Stopped. There it goes. It's very sluggish, Mr. Lytle.
Did it work?
It
I didn't
did.
say it did.
All right. 100% of all of our general education students have performed as proficient on our high school HSPA, HESPA Language Arts Literacy Program. 100%. We were nationally recognized 1 out of 5 schools for our LOLA program. We have impressive gains in grade 8 science. We've had a 72% decrease in dropouts since 2011. We've had an increase in SAT test takers, an increase in AP scores, and impressive gains over time for SAT reading, +9, and SAT math, that says +11 behind that little star. So we are very, very, very excited. We've had an increase in college acceptance, and we've had the highest rating from New Jersey Monthly since 2008. Tonight on the agenda, you're going to learn a little bit more about our curriculum and how it is driven by the Common Core for English, Language Arts, and Math. You will learn a little bit more about the assessments that we give. Those are coming, our new generation of tests called Parcc. I know that you've heard that name before. Our national, state, and local assessments, and then we'll be talking with you tonight about our achievement results, what those look like. New Jersey Ask, HESPA, the SAT, and NWEA. We'll also be sharing with you tonight our college acceptance rates and college attendance rates, and lastly, some of the information coming from our New Jersey school performance reports. So, at this point, what I'd like to do is introduce Dr. Clark, Assistant Superintendent, who will be sharing information with you about those first 2 items, curriculum and assessments. Dr.
Okay, so to begin this discussion, it's important that we ask these 2 questions. What do we teach and what do we test? So as you can see on this slide, the type there that's on the bottom, social studies, technology, visual and performing arts, world languages, 21st century life and careers are part of what we call the New Jersey Core Curriculum Content Standards. And these standards were introduced in 1996, and every 5 years, the State Department of Education updates the standards. So now we are up to the 2014. This is the year that the State Department of Education is updating those standards. So we now refer to them as the 2014 New Jersey Core Curriculum Content Standards. In the areas of ELA and math, those are areas that are going to be tested by what we call the Common Core state standards, and I'm sure all of you have become very familiar with the Common Core. And the way that we are going to test the Common Core is through Parcc testing. And I'm going to be talking a lot about Parcc testing in the next few slides. And as you can see, it's marked there tested because those are the areas that we test. So we are currently not administering state tests in social studies, technology, visual and performing arts, world languages, 21st century life and careers. Every other area is tested. Science, we are just in the process of transitioning to the next generation standards. And one of the things I wanted to say about that is the 2 websites that you can go to are very, very helpful in terms of providing information. But there's a quote that refers to the next generation standards that reads that these standards reflect a new vision for American science. The vision is designed to help realize a vision for education in sciences and engineering in which students over multiple years of school actively engage in scientific and engineering practices. And as we all know, there's been a focus on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And if you do some research on this website and other websites, you'll see that there's a lot of reference to the fact that we as public educators, as public education systems, have to do more to increase the students that are looking for or are prepared for colleges in engineering. Other countries are, I'm not going to say outperforming us, but are outnumbering us in those types of careers. And so the next generation science standards are intended to increase those types of students, and we're certainly going to do our part. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the Common Core as well. So let me transition here. So as you can see from this map, New Jersey adopted the Common Core state standards in 2010, and in 2014 is where we're starting to realize that transition, because this is the school year where all students will be participating in Parcc testing, whereas before students participated in the New Jersey ASC and the HESPA, as Dr. Brower pointed out. So you can see that quite a bit of the country is purple. Quite a bit of the country has adopted the Common Core state standards. However, there are states that have not. So let's talk a little bit about the impact of Common Core and Parcc and what that transition from New Jersey ASC and HESPA really looks like. So let's start nationally. So we know that the national assessments refer to the SAT. We all know what the SAT is, the ACT, and advanced placement classes, the way we know them as AP courses here at the high school. And we know that the AP courses provide students opportunities to take these college level classes that many colleges and universities recognize for credit, especially when students achieve passing scores or very high scores in the AP courses. The NAEP stands for the National Assessment of Educational Progress. It's also known as the nation's report card, so you may see that reference interchangeably. And I will tell you that the NAEP is the largest nationally representative and continuing assessment of what America's students know and can do. And the way that NAEP is administered is that certain public schools are asked to participate. And I can tell you that probably for the past 10 years we have been asked to participate in NAEP. It is not a standardized test in the sense that for like the New Jersey ASC, all students must participate. It's a sampling of students. And that is a test where it is at times optional. We'll send a letter home to parents letting them know that your child was selected to participate in NAEP. And we certainly encourage participation because it helps New Jersey find its part in the country. So in March of 2015, 2 of our schools were selected to participate in NAEP, and that is Forked River School, so grade 4 students will be participating, and Lacey Township Middle School, grade 8 students will be participating. So I just wanted to give you an overview of what the national assessments look like. So now let's talk a little bit about the state assessments, and we're going to be doing this throughout the presentation. Dr. Brower is going to be making some reference to performance, the performance of our students. In the 2013-14 school year, our 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students participated in New Jersey ASC Language Arts and New Jersey ASC Math. So this is the last school year, former school year. Our grade 4 and 8 students participated in New Jersey ASC Science. Our 11th graders participated in the HESPA, High School High School Proficiency Assessment, and our 11th grade students also participated in the HESPA Math and the Biology Competency End of Course exams. That stands for End of Course. EOC stands for End of Course. So that's what last year looked like. So let's take a look at what it's going to look like this current school year. So we have spent quite a bit of time talking about Parcc, getting ready for Parcc, transitioning to Parcc, and I'm going to show you a transition slide and talk to you a little bit about what that transition looked like. In addition to the Parcc testing that our 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and high school students will be participating in, our grades 4 and 8 students will continue to participate in New Jersey ASC Science as we transition to the next generation science standards. And our high school students will continue to participate in the NJBC-TAPE, which is the Biology Competency Test. So I just want to give you an overview of what testing looks like for this current school year. So let's talk about the Parcc. This is the Parcc timeline. And the Parcc timeline is a very important slide, and it's a slide that we've been looking at for quite some time. I know it's a little difficult to see, but I'm just going to highlight for you some of the things that we've been working on. So we know that 2010 is when New Jersey adopted the Common Core State Standards. I mentioned that to you earlier. Also in 2010 is when New Jersey joined the Parcc Consortium, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the difference between the Parcc Consortium and other terms that are used to describe Parcc testing. During the 2011 through the 2013 school year is when we began the transition from the New Jersey Core Curriculum Content Standards to the Common Core State Standards. And that was a slow transition. The State Department of Education did not expect that this is something that we would do overnight, and we certainly did not. In the spring of 2014 is when our school district, as well as many other school districts, participated in the pilot testing of Parcc. So the state wanted to get feedback on what that would look like from a number of standpoints, from a technological standpoint, from a curriculum standpoint, and from a transition standpoint. What was that going to look like? And so many school districts were asked to participate in the pilot. We did. And we did ourselves, in addition to be able to provide state feedback, we were able to glean our own feedback, especially when we talk about technology. So it was very good that we participated in that pilot. There was a question about whether we should, but I'm glad you did, and I think that my colleagues that are here in the audience can agree that it was a good thing that we participated in the pilot. I'm not so sure that our supervisor of technology might say the same. It was a rough couple of months for him, but he did very well. And so you can see there in fall, winter of 2015 is when we are expected to administer the Parcc assessments. And then in the summer of 2015, the State Department of Education is going to be taking that information and begin the process of setting benchmarks. And so we know what is considered proficient for HESPA and the New Jersey Ask. So now the State Department needs to provide us information of what is considered proficient for Parcc. So it's been a very grueling timeline, but I'm happy to say that we've kept on top of it, and we're ready. We're ready for that Parcc administration. So this is the slide that I wanted to explain to you a little bit about what is the difference between the Smarter Balance and the Parcc states. So the most obvious difference is you can see in orange the states that call themselves the Smarter Balance states, and then the states that consider themselves Parcc states. So you can see New Jersey, as tiny as it is on our map there, New Jersey is a Parcc state, and that simply just means that New Jersey chose to participate in the Parcc Consortium. But really, what is the difference between the Smarter Balance and the Parcc states? And that is simply the types of tests that are administered. And so after the consortium laid out for New Jersey what that encompassed, New Jersey decided to go with the Parcc Consortium. So as part of the Parcc Consortium, there are 4 components to Parcc testing. 2 of them are required. One is called the performance-based assessment. We call it PBA. And the second is the end-of-year assessment. And there are 2 windows for those tests to be administered. The PBA is going to be administered in a window, which, by the way, we did not choose that window. The State Department of Education lets us know what those windows are. And the PBA will be administered from March 2nd through the 27th. And the key functionality of the PBA is to test students' ability to write in English language arts literacy and complete multi-step real-world application problems in math. And so you're starting to hear some big words, and I think by the time I'm done with this part of the presentation, you're going to start to see that rigor is a theme for Common Core and Parcc testing. The end of year assessment, the EOY, is going to be taking place from April 27th through May 22nd. So while those are pretty large windows, I can tell you that your students, your children, they're not going to be testing every single day during those windows. 1 week is going to be designated for one school, the following week is going to be designated to another school, so it's not like they're going to be testing every single one of those days in those windows. So I just wanted to point that out. The key function of the EOY is to identify students' reading comprehension levels in ELA and conceptual understanding in math. And so it's intentional that those tests are administered at the end of the school year when we expect that instruction is coming to an end for that particular year. So I wanted to outline the two differences between those tests and identify for you what the difference was between the Smarter Balance and the Parcc states. Because I really believe that there's a lot of information about Parcc, and a lot of it's very confusing. If you go on the website, you try to understand it, it can be a little overwhelming. So I wanted to outline some of that. One of the things I wanted to say, though, is that the Parcc website is a very resourceful site for parents, for teachers, for students. And one of the things that you'll find on the Parcc website, by the way, you can find the link to the Parcc website on our district website. One of the things that the Parcc website has provided are sample questions. And even in looking at the sample questions, you can start to see what I'm talking about in terms of rigor. So what I did here is I provided some examples in the next few slides just to give you an understanding of what that rigor looks like and what questions used to look like in New Jersey Ask and what they're going to look like in Parcc. So one of the shifts in thinking for Parcc is that most college and workplace readiness skills are going to require that students, or I'm sorry, not students, they don't have students anymore. Well, they will at college level, but not in work. That they're going to write, but not just to write, just to write. Their writing is going to require evidence, and that's one of the examples that I'm going to go over with you today. I'm going to explain to you what that really means. And students have to have the ability to cite evidence, differentiating strong evidence from weak evidence. And so that is going to differentiate where students are strong in writing and where they're weak in writing. And the Parcc testing is going to help us identify where we need to help students to increase those skills so that they are ready for college and workplace. The whole point of Parcc is career and college readiness. So that's the shift in thinking. And evidence is a major emphasis of especially the ELA standards. So let me get to those examples that I was talking about. So let's take a look at this first example. So when we talk about evidence, we talk about non-text dependent and text dependent. So take a look on the left. In Casey at bat, Casey strikes out, describe a time when you failed at something. That is what a New Jersey Ask question would look like. And what a student might do here is just start to write about experience. The question isn't necessarily asking them to refer back to text. And that's what we mean by non-text dependent. So the Common Core State Standards expect students to use evidence from text to present careful analyses, well-defended claims, and clear information. So it's not enough to just answer that question or to describe how Casey might feel. Now take a look at the text-dependent question, what makes Casey's experiences at bat humorous? And so, as you can see, that question might ask the student to refer back to what they just read to be able to explain what was humorous about Casey's experience. It's not enough to just give an opinion or their own personal experience. They have to rely on the text to explain their answer. So you're starting to see the differences in rigor. Next example. So take a look at the example on the left. In Letter from a Birmingham Jail, Dr. King discusses nonviolent protest. Discuss in writing a time when you wanted to fight against something that you felt was unfair. So again, very easy for a student to just begin writing about perhaps a time when they felt that they were treated unfair. Not really asking the student to rely on something that they just read. On the right, what can you infer from King's letter about the letter that he received? So here, a student is actually reading a passage or a part of the test, which is Parcc, and asked to respond to a text-dependent question. So that's the difference. And I have one more example for you, and that is, so take a look at the left. In the Gettysburg Address, Lincoln says, "The nation is dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Why is equality an important value to promote?" So again, easy for a student to offer an opinion rather than depend on text. And so you'll see on the right, the question might be rephrased as, the Gettysburg Address mentions the year 1776, a very important year. According to Lincoln's speech, why is this year significant to the events described in the speech? And what I would expect to see is that the passage was provided to the student to be able to answer the question referring back to that text. So there are many, many examples of how this rigor is demonstrated in Parcc and what students are expected to know and be able to do by the end of the school year, which is quite different than what they're being or were being asked to do in the NJS and the HESPA. So again, I'm going to encourage our families, our students to go to the Parcc website. There are many, many examples that will illustrate this rigor. Let's talk a little bit about local assessments. So we've talked about national assessments, we've talked about state assessments, and now let's talk about some local assessments. And by no stretch of the imagination is this a complete list. But local assessments, the best way that I can describe them at most times is that they're teacher developed. And they're teacher developed based on the resources that we put in the hands of our teachers. So for example, developmental reading assessments are also called the DRA. And the DRAs are assessments that we use in the early years to assist us in, or to let us know how students are doing with reading comprehension. And there are scales that we use, and teachers are trained on how to administer the DRAs. So it's not teacher developed, but it's certainly teacher friendly. And when we get down to the bottom of the list, you'll see Envision diagnostic tools. Envision is the program that we're using in grades K through 6. So the Envision program has its own diagnostic tools. Envision also has its own placement tests and its own benchmark assessments. And then finally, the last on the list is our teacher developed tests. So I just wanted to differentiate between our national tests, the SAT, the ACT, our state tests, the NJS, now the Parcc, and local assessments, which this is just a small list of many local assessments that we currently offer in Lacey Township. So I hope that this at least gave you an introduction to what this school year looks like for us in terms of the assessment landscape. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Brower to discuss how our students actually did on all of those assessments.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. So what I hope that you take away, not only from all the important and critical information that Dr. Clark just shared with you, but there is a lot of testing going on. And we don't measure our school district based upon one test given at one snapshot. There are multiple ways that we measure student achievement. So we're going to be focusing a little bit on how do we measure student achievement and what does that look like? And then at the end, what do we know and believe about how we feel about the progress that our students are making? But it can't be said enough that currently at this time, and you saw that timeline that Dr. Clark put up, but in 2013, 2014, 2015, we are now transitioning to higher standards that we have never seen before, tougher assessments that our students have never seen, and unprecedented demands on our staff and our students. These are clearly unprecedented times. Never in the history of education have we seen such a tumultuous time of change. And you're going to hear me say it a little bit later, but I'm going to say it again, that our teachers are doing a tremendous job with what we're giving them, that is bearing down to us from the national level, from the state level, and certainly the implementations of change here that we have at the local level. So with that being said, we not only base and judge how we're doing from self to self, but we also comparatively want to take a look at how we are doing compared to other people like us, with districts that are like us. So one of the things that we just want to make sure that everyone understands is that Lacey's DFG is DE. And what does that mean? That means that all school districts were at one time categorized by their socioeconomic status. You were either an A, a B, a CD, a DE, an FG, a GH, an I, or a J. And in Ocean County, an example of a district that's an A district would be Seaside Heights Borough. An I district in Ocean County would be Bayhead. In Monmouth County, an A district would be Asbury Park, and a J district would be Rumson. So Lacey's socioeconomic status ranked by 6 factors, which you see there on the slide, coming from census data, on percentage of adults with no high school diploma or some college education, occupational status, unemployment rate, percentage of individuals in poverty, and the median family income. So we are DE. And so we're going to be talking about this letter tonight twice, and I'm going to mention it now. When you hear that Lacey is a D district, we are rated as a D district socioeconomically in a continuum of A through J. We're right in the middle. So when we are compared to other districts, excuse me, like ourselves, these are the districts that are just like us. These are DE districts. So when we are rating Lacey's students against other students in DE districts, these are where those children attend. I've highlighted for you the DE districts in Ocean County because I know that that will help also make sense for you when you're thinking about those communities. So tonight, when I'm mentioning that we are outperforming our DE or DFGs, this is our DFG cohort. Any questions before I continue? Okay. One more thing that I just want to create base on is that when we're going to be talking comparatively, for our students in Lacey, if you were in a general education program, we had approximately 310 to 371 students in a grade level. So when I show you our grade 3 slides, you can get a general sense that we're approximately in the 300 range. For students in our DFG category, in the D category, we are ranking ourselves and comparing ourselves against approximately 12,000 to 13,000 students. And if we're doing the same comparatively across the state, we are comparing our students to approximately 101 to 104,000 students. So, if I were to ask you, what is the most important year in a student's career, what grade would you think? Now I know our principals in the room know this answer, I can see. But I will give you the answer. It is 3rd grade. It is the year that students learn how to read. It is the year that they start to use decoding skills. It is the year that they start to transition to reading to learn. If we were to identify one predictor for our students as far as the graduation level, it would be 3rd grade. 3rd grade reading level is known as a predictor for graduation. Recent study finds that a student who cannot read on grade level by 3rd grade is 4 times less likely to graduate high school by the age of 19 than a student who can read proficiently by that time. If you add poverty to the mix of that, that student is 13 times less likely to graduate school than a proficient or wealthier peer. So, for several years, we have been talking about 3rd grade, 3rd grade, 3rd grade. That is our conversation. What are we doing at 3rd grade? Well, I'm proud to share with you that we've had a 10-point gain in third grade over the past 4 years, moving from a 70.8 to an 80.7. That is a 10-point gain in our general education population. The maroon line at top, where you just heard me read 70.8 to 80.7, represents Lacey's general education population, a 10-point gain for our gen ed population, where the state, represented in the green, stayed flat. Now at the bottom, you'll see our special education graph. You'll see that we were at 46.0, that's proficiency for our special education students. We take a little dip, and then we come right back up at the end at 45.2. You'll notice that we are far exceeding the state average in that grade level. Now, before I continue on with our slides, what I want to point out to you is this, that you are going to see a trend, not just here in Lacey, but everywhere in our state and in our nation, that there is a gap. And the achievement gap that you hear about, No Child Left Behind, and the whole basis behind No Child Left Behind was to address this achievement gap. Researchers and educators have been talking about the achievement gap for decades, and it exists. And no one yet has been able to figure out how, in fact, to close this gap. We make strides, we make gains, and then we'll see dips again. So the bottom is one of our largest disaggregated cohorts of special education. And we have other data to show disaggregation on students of poverty who are in free and reduced lunch programs or by ethnicity. But this is a large cohort, and you'll see that we definitely do have an achievement gap. But notice our achievement gap is quite different than the state's. Now I'm going to show you one more slide, and that's this one. This one represents grade 3 language arts literacy comparative from the state, from the DFG, and Lacey. So Lacey's large Navy block is representing 80.7% of our general education population as proficient, as compared to our DFG, 75.3. You know what that large list looked like. And as compared to state, we are outperforming our DFG and our state in our gen ed population, and that is very, very awesome. Let's take a look at third grade mathematics. What this slide is not going to show you are a few things that I'm going to point out here. So by now, after that first slide, I'm going to share with you again how to read these slides. Lacey is represented general education by the maroon line on top, and our special education on the bottom, represented in the dark blue or navy. So we have gains here in our general education population. You can see those percentage point gains by three points actually, and we're clearly doing better as comparative to the state, which took a little bit of a dip there. Take a look at our special education population. Our special education students were climbing in 2011-12. And we take a pretty significant dip in 2012-13 and start to climb back out of that. What that slide does not show you is that in this particular grade level, we have increased our advanced proficiency scores for special education by 9 points. I'm going to show you that a little bit later in the slide. The other thing that I'm going to now mention to you for the first time, and I'm going to use foundationally for you in Dr. Parc's presentation, in 2012-13 and 2013-14, the State Department started to use the Transitional Ask program, and that meant that they started to introduce the questions that Dr. Parcc just shared with you on that slide. So in 13-14 and in 12-13, our students were administered Transitional Ask tests where they included Common Core questions in these tests. So now the test is more rigorous. The test is different. Although they're still taking it on paper and pencil in these years, and in future years it'll be all technological, but in these years we see an increased rigor, and our students are not only doing better, but they're taking a much more difficult test. So we're very, very pleased, although I could understand where I need to share with you some caution on how to read that. Let's take a look at the third grade math slide. Lacey is outperforming our DFG and our state again in this area. Let's take a look at fourth grade. Now in fourth grade, we're up high at 79.8, and we start to take that dip in 2011-12, and we stabilize. Notice too that the state did the same, almost the same kind of trend analysis that you see from our general education population. Down at the bottom, our special education students were taking a nice increase, but now have stabilized back down, right sort of where our State Department, or rather our New Jersey State test takers were at 31.9. So in 4th grade, I'm going to share with you again that our students are taking a much more difficult test, a much more rigorous test, with the full implementation of Common Core in these years. We would expect to see some fluctuation here. But comparatively, we're outperforming our state and outperforming our DFG in 4th grade language arts. In 4th grade mathematics, we see general education sort of holding their own, still outperforming at the state by almost 4 points or so, and our special education scores moving down just again, but we're still outperforming the state and still outperforming the DFG that I'm going to share with you in the next slide. So focusing on this 4th grade math slide for a moment, so we have new curriculum that is in place. We have Envision Math program that we're currently using. So we'll be taking a look to see what happens, and this is an opportunity for us to drill down to say we didn't see those dips in our general education population, so what's causing that in our special education population? Just so that you know, there are approximately 70 students or so represented in our special education cohorts. That'll give you a sense of the scale. So obviously, you know, the smaller that percentage number, the higher these fluctuations will be with such a small subgroup. But in mathematics, compared to the DFG and the state, Lacey continues to outperform in both of those areas. So, the principals at the end of a cycle like this get together and they meet with their staff, they meet with their teachers, and they say, what were the highlights? And so I asked them, what were the highlights from 2013-14? And Cedar Creek shared that in 3rd grade in English Language Arts, their cluster scores were equal to or higher than 6 out of 6 areas for the district and the state. In grade 4, mathematics, special education clusters, at Cedar Creek they were higher than 5 out of 5 categories in district and 4 out of 5 in state. In Forked River, grade 3 and 4 mathematics scores increased in all subgroup populations when compared to their prior year's report, and in grade 3 language arts, their achievement scores are the highest for the total students compared to the previous 5-year scores. Now that's very impressive, because when you're talking about total scores, that includes general education and special education population with all other subgroups. Total groups is a very impressive category to make a change. In Lenoka Harbor, grade 3, again, remember I've been talking about grade 3 being a critical year. ELA cluster scores were equal to or higher than 6 out of 6 areas compared to the DFG and state. And at grade 3, Lenoka is proud of their cluster scores in math, which are equal to or higher than 5 out of the 5 areas compared. And in every single circumstance, we are very, very proud to highlight our dynamic and dedicated teachers, staff, and parents. So their focus for the 14-15 school year, when they take a look at their data, and we talk about driving instruction using data, they came back and they said that they're going to continue to focus on professional development designed to refine their teachers' knowledge of available strategies and interventions with a focus on implementing the comprehension toolkit and explorations in nonfiction literacy, which is a focus. In each school, at Cedar Creek, under the leadership of Jackie Renuska, Principal Renuska is implementing some small group instruction strategies using explicit skill instruction and math centers. At Forked River, under the direction of Mr. Fiedler, open-ended responses will be his focus in his school, with an emphasis on working to increase students' proficiency in the area of writing open-ended responses through the implementation of Writer's Workshop. And lastly, at Lenoka Harbor, under the leadership of Mr. Principal Brewer, Writer's Workshop again and aligning responses to Parcc. So those will be the focus areas for the principals. Let's take a look at grade 5. So, before I put up the fifth grade slide, you should know that really fifth grade has struggled, not only here in Lacey, but in other schools. And when I speak with superintendents, they tell me about fifth grade. So it is no surprise to me that our fifth grade scores are going to be a little difficult to view. So let me put them up there, and here they are. We go from 70.6, we go up and see some nice gains. We come back down to 73. And now in 2013-14, we are below the state average. So that is something that has our attention. And Dr. Kopach is fully ready to embrace this challenge to figure out what is going on and what we're going to do about it. But let me share with you this. That fifth grade is a transition year, so we have all of our students coming from different elementary schools into one grade. We also have a new implementation coming down with our curriculum and some materials that we need to purchase as well to make sure that they're aligned. Take a look at our special education scores. Interestingly, this phenomenon happens to change the trajectory because in this particular grade level, our special education students have pretty tremendous gains when comparatively to the state it remained flat. The intervention, when asked, and we spoke with Dr. Kopach and said, what do you attribute the intervention, particularly that we're seeing in special education, and the response came back that Read 180, and that particular program seems to be making a difference for our students at that grade level. So this is the only slide that you're going to see, sans the next one, is that we are lower than the state and lower than the DFG in grade 5 language arts literacy, so this is clearly a focus for us. In fifth grade math, you can take a look and see that we have general stabilization in our general education population, but we do again take another dive down in our special education scores in 12-13 and 13-14. Again, I will remind you that this is the year that we are effecting some change at Mill Pond, where we are now implementing teacher teams with a new schedule and some more time for language arts literacy and math instruction. Typically, it takes about 3 years to see results on a whole school reform initiative like that, so we're expecting to see some results in next year's presentation. Comparatively, we are lower than the DFG considerably, and just slightly by state. And in sixth grade, it doesn't look so bleak. We continue to outperform our state of DFG, which has been a general theme that you've been hearing me say. So we're very excited about that. And similarly, outperforming the state and DFG in sixth grade language arts from a comparative perspective. And the same thing happens in mathematics, where we are outperforming. And even though we took a turn in special education scores, still very much outperforming the state in both categories in sixth grade math. Lacey continues to outperform the state and DFG by pretty significant numbers there. And in the same way now, we've asked Mill Pond leadership to come back and tell us about your highlights. In grade 5, their NWEA results showed growth and progress in ELA and exceeded growth in mathematics. The new master schedule for grade 5 was developed in this school year. And in grade 6, there is an increase in instructional time for ELA and math with common planning, and increased professional development within Vision Math and professional learning communities, known as PLC affectionately, focused on math. Mill Pond shares that they are very proud to highlight their dynamic and dedicated teachers, staff members, and parents. For the upcoming year, Mill Pond will focus on ELA and social studies with unit focus on combined projects, mathematics and science curriculum units looking to expand concepts, PLCs focused on special education, English language literacy, math, science social studies, technology school planning, and their Proud Plus program. This year, Mill Pond started a new initiative called One School, One Book, and that is where all of the students are reading the same book along with all of the students, and this year's novel is Bridge to Terabithia. So all of the students and the entire community will be reading Bridge, and that really gives everyone in the school an opportunity to develop themes and units throughout. let's take a look at 7th grade. So over at the middle school, really nice gains in our general education population. You can see far exceeding and stepping away from the state. And in special education, we had a really good year in 12-13 with that particular cohort, but in 13-14, we saw a change there. And I will share with you that we had a change in our 7th grade population at middle school. We had about 45 students in our special education program enter the new program at grade 7 language arts. So that, along with the focus on increasing informational text, will be an area that has the attention of the middle school administration. But we are far exceeding the state and far exceeding the DFG. Taking a look at 7th grade mathematics, we have a 25-point gain. So this is a real bright spot for us, and you can see that we grew tremendously from 10-11 all the way. And I'm going to say it again, I've said it before, on a more rigorous test that has changed dramatically what students need to be able to do. And our special education scores went from below state rather, and now above state. Very, very impressive. Comparatively, we are doing exceptionally well there. Let's take a look at 8th grade. In 8th grade, you see that we are far exceeding gains that are students attending schools across the state. So we are doing very well comparatively. And even though we're seeing some changes in the downward swing in special education, which you've seen has been, a general theme, because these tests are more difficult, we are doing very, very well compared to our students taking the test in across the state. And again, you will see that we are outperforming state and outperforming students in our DFG and 8th grade language arts. In mathematics, this slide is a little bit more volatile. And so the explanation for the volatility here is the Common Core changes, the standards that have happened there, new math series that we have now implemented, and the new mapping program that has gone in for professional development and our curriculum. What's particularly interesting about this grade 8 slide is that we have really had to take a better look at what we were delivering our students at grade 8, moving from a pre-algebra program to a more rigorous algebra program. We think that's going to continue those numbers coming back up. So 2012-13 really seemed to be a recalibration year for us, but not far away from the state, you'll see. Comparatively, though, we are still exceeding the state and the DFG in our 8th grade math program. So our middle school highlights, the NWA results are showing growth in both ELA and math. New math curriculum and textbook fully aligned to Common Core, professional development in the area of literacy and teaching of math, the implementation of our curriculum maps, and we are echoing again the dedicated and dynamic teachers, staff, and parents. Middle school focus is professional development and literacy across the curriculum, exposing students to informational text, exposing students to complex problems, implementing the STEM program, and using data to help drive instruction. We also administer our science tests, and I'll just briefly share with you that there have been no changes really to our science curriculum. And there are no new tests right now for science, so those numbers stay relatively stagnant rather. But we are comparatively doing very well in 4th grade science. 8th grade, significant jump in special education. Had an opportunity to get some feedback from Mr. King and the department chairs there, and response is coming back that there have been some changes there, where our special education students are sharing lab time with our regular education students. They're sharing general class time, and there was a change in special education staffing. So tremendous gains there. There you go again. You're getting very used to seeing that very awesome slide. Now NWA. You've heard me talk a lot about NWA. And NWA is a formative assessment administered in kindergarten through grade 8. this year, grade 9 last year. The areas of blue indicate that we are outperforming students nationally. So out of all of those categories, our kindergartners are outperforming students nationally. Our grade 2 students, our grade 3 students, and our grade 4 students are all achieving at higher rates on their RIT scores nationally than the others. I didn't highlight grade 1, but you'll see they're actually on point, near adjacent point. But I didn't take the color because they were the same. So this slide specifically shares that we are outperforming those categories nationally. The same thing happens for the NWA grades 5 through 9. We're outperforming in math and outperforming in 6th grade nationally and in all categories in the middle. I shared this with you before. My first slide, 100% of our high school students have passed the HESPA in language arts if they are in a general education program, and tremendous growth if you were in a special education program. We are very, very excited about the work that's happening in our classrooms with our teachers and the accomplishments of our students. 100% proficiency. And in mathematics, you'll see some nice gains there in Lacey, and we are actually just shy of outperforming our students across the state, but comparatively still outperforming the state and DFG. This is the New Jersey Biology Competency Test, very closely aligned to the state, but something is happening in our special education population, and this has our attention just like our 5th grade did. So it'll be something that we'll continue to investigate to find out what's happening with our program and if we need curriculum, resources, time, etc. Highlights. For high school in 13-14, our graduation rates have increased. We have more AP offerings. We've been transitioning to Common Core and Parcc. Classroom expectations beyond the HESPA. Under the leadership of Mr. Hanshu and his staff, the LOLA program won the Transformational Award, 1 out of 5 schools nationally for our online learning program. Really changing the way we're teaching math to a conceptual approach. You've heard about the STEM program, and really there is a cultural shift happening at the high school as we speak about the concept of what's being taught to what's being learned. And a new stretch program for after-school help. All happening with dynamic and dedicated teachers, staff members, and parents. The focus areas are in front of you, and you'll see some continuations based upon the highlights. And in summary, for 2014, total students, that includes all gen ed and general education and special education students, we are outperforming all of the categories comparatively from state and from DFG. The comparable on point for grade 11 math is only a 0.3 differential. So these are very, very exceptional results that we are very, very proud to share. Nationally, on our SAT scores this year, you're going to see some percent changes there. In reading in 2010, our students, the mean score was 483. In 2014, the mean score 492. And that is a 5-year change total of +9, outperforming a change score from New Jersey, which only yielded 0.6, and total group was -3. In math, Lacey enjoyed a +11 point gain over 5 years, outperforming New Jersey's +9, total -2. And in writing, there is no change over 5 years. We go up and we go down. And there were changes there at the New Jersey and state level as well. The SAT is an aptitude test, so comparatively, if we take a look at the blue bar, Lacey, the state is green, and nationally is in that maroon color. You'll see that we're right on par. Can we do better? Absolutely. But what's interesting about our SAT data is we have more students right now taking the SAT than ever before, representative by that black line. In 2011, we had 190 test takers, and last year, 215. So that is going to result in some changes. The more students you have taking the SAT, it certainly will affect the scores. But you'll see that there are very impressive gains in most of the areas in our SAT comparative data chart. Advanced placement. Advanced placement is another area that we are very, very proud to show data, and that is that in 2013, 58 students achieved a score of 3 or better, receiving college credit for those classes. In 2014, 74, so from 58 to 74. Impressive gains going from 118 to 125. The more students that we can get involved with our AP scores, the better our results will be, and particularly when we are rated by media events, because that's what they like to look at. But college acceptance and graduation rates are very important to us as well, and we put that into the portrait and the landscape when we try to identify how Lacey is doing. Here you're going to see that in 2014 we have had the highest rate of students attending a 4-year college, 42%, from a 32% in 2013. We are very, very excited about our gains with students who are considering attending 4-year colleges. But it's not just being accepted to a 4-year college, it's attending colleges. And this list is compiled from the 2013-14 graduates who have attended the top 150 national universities as rated by U.S. News and World Report, their rankings for 2014-15. I'm going to give you a minute to take a look at that. That is a very, very impressive list. And we had students attending the top 150 national colleges, again rated by U.S. News and World Report. And if they didn't attend those at the top 150, they may have attended all of these colleges near to us here in New Jersey, and some of them actually are in the top 150. And if they've decided to leave us and go farther away, we do have a student attending University of Hawaii, and they are attending career and trade colleges, and some of the most outstanding ones in our nation are listed there for you. I had an opportunity to talk with a parent a couple weeks ago, and she was sharing with me that she just wasn't sure if her child was going to have the same opportunities as maybe another. And I said that it is the rigor of the transcript that your child will put together while he is here at Lacey High School. And while here, access to AP courses and online courses will make a huge difference. So we have focused a lot about college readiness and the culture that we believe, but I'm going to show you this slide. When I came to Lacey several years ago, conversation was focused on our dropout rate. I know you know that because it was something that you and I probably talked about time and time again. So I'm very proud to share with you that we've had an over 70% decrease in our students dropping out since 2011 at a high of 46, and in this past year down to 13. We want that number to be 0. It's what we care about, it's what we strive to do. We're very, very excited to share that we have more students who are leaving with a high school diploma than had been in the past few years. Lastly, I will share with you that we also have another indicator to evaluate our success, and that is the New Jersey School Performance Report, which has 3 primary drivers: focus, benchmarking, and improving. And it's a very complex report, not very easy to make a summary of it, but we have decided that what was very important to us was to identify the bands of proficiency in each of the categories. I think, Mr. Lytle, our battery is going dead here. So at Lenoka Harbor, this is a proficiency trend, and I'm just going to orient you to the slide. So let's just focus on the one on the right for a moment. The green section on the right indicates the percentage of students who are in the advanced proficient range. the yellow indicating proficiency, and the blue indicating partial proficiency. So we like to say the prettier slides have more green on top and less blue at the bottom, because that's showing increasing proficiency. So I'm happy to share with you that Lenoka Harbor has a very impressive slide when you take a look at the math on the right in proficiency trends, showing really strong bands of green and lesser bands of blue. Over on the left are the language arts trends in proficiency, so 4% in advanced proficient in this past year, which is awesome. We don't have these charts yet for the 2013-14 school year. Here are the bands for Fork and River, on the left language arts, on the right math. Again, please remember a much more rigorous test. And Cedar Creek's bands. Mill Ponds. Language arts on the left. Proficiency bands for math on the right. Middle school. Language arts on the left, math on the right. And high school. Lastly, I'm going to recognize that some people only take one snapshot and judge our schools just based on one thing. And if you hear anything tonight from my voice, it is that schools are not judged on just one particular data set. We judge and base our value and what we do on many. But New Jersey Monthly and Star Ledger certainly include their ratings, but in New Jersey Monthly, our ranking has been the highest that it's been in 6 years. So in 2008, we were ranked high school, out of all the high schools, number 238, and in this year, 210. So we're very proud of that. And I've had a conversation with Principal Hanshu, and we are certain that you are going to be very, very excited 2 years from now, because we have a plan to make that go even higher. What's interesting, in NewJersey.com, the Star Ledger 2013 rated Lacey as a D district, but this year we're not a D anymore. We're a vertical line because they have eliminated the letter grades. So we are now a vertical line. So that's what you're going to need to replace the proverbial letter that you've heard. So the NewJersey.com has rated school districts in 3 ways: a vertical line, a plus sign, or a horizontal line. So if you received a plus category, that meant that you were in the top third of the school districts in New Jersey. If you received the vertical line, then you were in the middle third of all high schools in New Jersey. And if you received the horizontal line, then you were in the bottom third of all the schools in New Jersey. So we are now a vertical line. School improvement does not happen in a linear way. It looks like this. We have ups and we have downs, but we're always on the rise. We're always going one step higher. And when we have those opportunities to go down, we ask why and we correct. But improvements in schools just does not happen in a straight line going in one direction. Lacey Points of Pride. I hope now, right where we started just an hour ago, these categories have new meaning for you when we think about our students here and the work that we're doing in Lacey. We're planning a parent presentation in January so that we can just take a deeper dive with our parents on what Common Core is and what Parcc is. We hardly scratched the surface on that tonight, so I hope that you'll consider. And the last thing that I make in closing comments before we open up for questions is I want to thank our teachers, our support staff, our child study teams, our counselors, our school leaders, our district leaders who are working every day to deliver the very best to our students. This is an outstanding school district with outstanding students and outstanding teachers. And it is my job, my moral imperative, to share that with you in every way that I can, that we have an exceptional program here, and we believe that if we're not getting better, we're not improving. So everything that we do every day is to make Lacey a better place and a better school for our children. So I thank you for your support and your listening. I thank Dr. Clark for your presentation and for all the principals here and school leaders and supervisors for the work that you do. And especially thank you to the teachers that are here. With that, I open the floor for any questions or comments. Okay. Well, if you do, you know that you can contact us in any way, call us, email us, contact any of the school principals or supervisors or district staff, and we would be happy to answer your questions. And thank you. Thank you to members of the Board of Education for all of your support and the work that you're doing to help us continue with the work that we want to do. So thank you. Again, I want to thank everyone who stayed through the presentation, all our staff, business leaders, principals, Dr. Brower and Dr. Clark. That was a very extensive presentation. I'm sure it's going to take a while for the community to completely grasp everything, but on behalf of the whole Board of Education, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, for understanding it's important for us to understand the information and the data so we know where we are and how we can move forward. So again, I'd like to thank all the staff. Thank you. And I know it's rather late, but we do have a few committee board reports. Mr. Martinak, would you like to give a finance committee report?
Surely. Thank you, Vice President Torella.
Thank you.
Briefly, I'll be brief because it's getting late and this is nowhere near as exciting as what we just saw. So, the Finance Committee met on Monday, October 6th. It was Mrs. Downing, Mrs. Torella, and myself. And we discussed a number of items. It's kind of that time of year where a lot of the small stuff pops up. It's not the middle of budget season, so these meetings don't go as long as the ones in, say, March. We talked about our annual maintenance worksheet, which is a report we have to put together for the state that indicates what we spent on maintenance of our buildings the past 5 years and what we project we're going to spend in the future. That's actually on the agenda this evening. We talked about a potential change at the Forked River School to eliminate left-hand turns out of the far driveway. It's an area of concern that the Lacey Township Police have brought up to us, so we're working with them on that aspect. We talked about the trying to do something with the trailers at Forked River School that are leaking. We don't use those trailers for classrooms anymore, but we use them for storage, and we need to do something about that. And we talked about the HVAC unit on the roof of Mill Pond that is leaking, and we've been trying to, Cedar Creek, and we've been trying to string it along with patch jobs for years, and we're going to have to finally replace that. So those were the topics for the Finance Committee discussed in brief.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martinak. And Dr. Clark, do you have a brief curriculum committee report you'd like to share?
Keyword brief?
Yes.
Yes, I do have a brief report on behalf of President Downing, who would normally report. I am going to report for her. Curriculum meeting met on September 22nd, and the topics that were discussed were the professional development academy that the administrators and the teachers have put together, developed by the administrators and teachers for teachers. And this is going to be some intensive professional development that's going to take place throughout the school year. Mr. Maskey, the Director of Special Services, who is here with us tonight, did a presentation on an overview of the special education department in terms of programming and population and staffing. So thank you, Mr. Maskey, for doing that. The committee also discussed the SAT boot camp that took place on the weekend of October 4th and 5th, and that was in preparation for the SAT that was taking place the following weekend. We had approximately 100 students participate, and that program was taught by our 2 high school teachers, Mr. Larice and Mr. Schwindiger. So thank you to the both of them. Very successful program, and we hope to offer that program again in the spring. The committee also discussed a K-6 literacy program, and that initiative is being led by District Supervisor Ann Taylor to eventually replace our K-6 elementary program materials. So that's going to be a year-long process, hopefully with an implementation for the 15-16 school year. The committee also discussed several out-of-state travel trips that are taking place in Pennsylvania and New York. Specifically, the competitive marching band is going to be attending Abington High School, Hatboro Horsham High School, and Hershey Stadium in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And the high school autistic program is going to be attending the New Amsterdam Theater this week, actually, and the American Museum of Natural History in December. And finally, the committee discussed a health and wellness program taking place at the high school with the purchase and implementation of 30 spin bikes. So we're looking forward to see how that program progresses throughout the school year. And that concludes the curriculum report. Thank you.
Thank you,
Vice
Dr.
President
Clark.
Torella.
Thank you for pitch hitting there. Next, any residents would like to come up and ask questions or make comment, please just raise your hand, and then when you go to the podium, state your name and address. Come on.
Regina DeSenza, Sunset Drive, Sunrise Beach. I would just like to thank Dr. Brower and Dr. Clark for the status PowerPoint presentation. It answered a lot of questions I had, and it raised a few others, but it would be another year or two to pass before we can get additional answers, but it looks like Lacey's going in the right direction. Thank you for bringing all those numbers together and all those graphs, because it was very significant. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else from the community would like to speak? Seeing no one else, we'll close community comments and go to board comments. Mrs. McAvoy, would you like to start us this evening?
Sure. I would like to congratulate Brenda Kamaligan, all the students of the month, Winter, Taylor, Paul, and Aaron. I want to thank all the administrators and the teachers. Myself and a few board members took a tour of the district a few weeks ago, and I was very impressed. The teachers were very welcoming. The administrators invited us back, and we were able to go into the classrooms and see teaching going on and the students learning. So I'm looking forward to coming back, and thank you to everyone for being so welcoming. Spotlight on graduates. Ross Giarratano graduated in 2009 from the high school. He went on to Rutgers, where he received his bachelor's degree in meteorology. While at Rutgers, he interned at the United States National Weather Service, and he worked at the Rutgers University station. He recently accepted a meteorologist position in Great Falls, Montana, and you can listen to him on the air every morning doing the AccuWeather forecast. So we're very proud of Ross and his accomplishments. And to keep my comments short, thank you, Vice President Torella.
Thank you. Mr. Schubiger, would you like to comment?
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. First, as always, congratulations to all of our students who were honored here tonight, and for the many, many others who are doing great things in our district. We're very proud of you. Keep up the great work. I want to comment on, I believe the title of tonight's presentation was the Academic Achievement Report. First, and certainly most importantly, I want to thank the staff who put all that together, which is a lot of people. To be able to put together all that quantitative data is certainly a major effort. And it was, I know it took some time, and it gives us a glimpse of where we are from an assessment standpoint with our students. But I do have to make some comments in more general terms about what our district's all about, where we're going, and what it means to be successful. Perhaps the title of that document could have been the federal and state mandated test report. Maybe. That might have been one thing I could have called it, but some may disagree. I've always thought that our goal is really to prepare our students for success in life and to provide an environment where they can become productive citizens. That's really what I think our district is about. It's not necessarily about making sure that they're good test takers. The fact that we're making great strides is certainly an excellent story to hear tonight. But I just want to remind people that I think our district and our students are so much more than a number. I don't want to put a number on any of our students. I think our students are people. I know they are. They have feelings and they have aspirations, and there's many different ways to assess that, not just through a test. Just a couple of examples. I mean, quantitative data, empirical evidence is certainly critical, and it's where education's going. It's one way. But qualitatively, I think there's so many other things that many of the people in our audience, as parents and teachers, faculty in general, see every day that don't go into a report like that. What about the kindergartner who, just a couple weeks ago, the whole first week of school, crying every day, literally hanging on to the front door while his mother or father drags him or her to the bus stop to get on that bus because he's scared. And then a week later, he's skipping down the road because he can't wait to get there. That happens. I've seen it. Believe me, I've seen it. Or what about the 8th grader, and I'm sure there's somebody out there who's in these shoes, who sits in the back of the classroom in history class because he or she doesn't want to speak. They're afraid of maybe saying the wrong thing. But by the middle of the class, middle of the year, they're raising their hand, answering questions all day, and the teacher's trying to pick on somebody else because that guy's answering all the questions. That happens. That's achievement. And what about the 12th grader, the senior, getting ready to figure out what they're going to do? They like science. They love the water. They live near the water. That's where we are. They like marine biology. They take a class. They're not sure about it. It's difficult. Some people say, don't do it. It's a very hard class. You don't have the time. They take the class. Maybe they get a D the first semester, the first marking period. They're humbled. They're scared. They're worried about what did I do? What am I going to do with my life? And you know what? Between people who care, by the end of the school year, maybe that D becomes a B. B as in boy. And all of a sudden, that student's excited about life and wanting to do something in science again. So all those things that I just described aren't in that report that you just saw, and they're just as important. And I think we all need to keep an eye on that and remember that. I wish the state and the federal government would remind us all of that once in a while, too. So test scores will vary. We're doing well. We're doing better, and I think that's awesome. But there's nothing that we know today that maybe 10 years from now those scores are flipped, where we're doing a little bit better than the state average. Maybe we're not doing as well. I hope not. And maybe the areas that we're deficient right now, we're doing awesome in 10 years. That might just happen too. But things we can't control that aren't in that report as well. Does the student actually want to learn? We need the student to want to learn. Does the student have the support at home from family to help that student learn? We don't know about that either. And how many teachers are out there making sure that they provide the extra time and support and encourage our students to go from that D to a B? That's achievement, and that happens in the classroom, and that's not up there. So I want us all to keep in mind, those are things that are real achievement and ways that we can also assess our district. I hope we continue to do that, and I know my fellow board members like to thank and congratulate our students for doing some of the things that I described tonight, and I hope they continue to do that. So it's been a long night. I appreciate a little latitude with my comments. Thank you. And that concludes my comments for tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Giordano?
Thank you, Vice President Torella. I'll try to keep it brief. I know it's getting late, but I wanted to congratulate Brenda Camiglian. I think it's a fantastic thing for this school district to have a teacher with such passion and energy, and to be recognized in a national publication like that. It's an honor to have that individual in our school district, and we're very proud of her. To the students of the month, Erin, Paul, Taylor, Winter, congratulations. You know, you never cease to amaze us with the academic achievement, your extracurricular activities, the things you do outside of school. You're a role model to your fellow students, and you know, we're very proud of you as well. I also want to give a special shout out to the student of the month and to Mr. King's Middle School, Jordan Smith, my niece. Congratulations, we love you, great job. I want to thank Dr. Brower and Dr. Clark for putting together such a comprehensive report. You know, I think it shows a lot of things. I think Board Member Schubiger touched on some of those topics. You know, our administrators, our teachers, the staff, we're doing a tremendous job in an ever-changing educational environment here nationally, or you know, nationally as well as here in the state. You know, one of the things that Board Member Schubiger pointed out was it's important that we do better with test scores, but it's also important to continue to look at some of the other things that you know, student achievement brings, right? But again, I want to thank everybody that was, you know, that put effort into putting that data together. It shows that we are going in the right direction. It shows that we're doing a lot of things that we need to do to make this school district a better place for our students. With that, I will conclude my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martinak?
Thank you, Vice President Torella. I too would like to congratulate our students of the month, Paul, Erin, and Taylor. And I'd also like to congratulate Winter, our unsung hero. And if her achievements so far are any guide, I think she'll find that with what she wants to do in life, that her experience at WLTS and in some of the other activities in this high school will serve as a good launching pad for her future career. So I wish her the best in those endeavors. I too would like to congratulate Mrs. Camiglio. Our staff goes above and beyond in a lot of different ways, and certainly going out of your way to develop this, not only the techniques, but to go through the trouble to write an article, get it recognized, get it reviewed, get it published, shows a commitment to the profession that our staff demonstrates every day here in Lacey. So I was very happy to see that, and I congratulate her and I thank her for her time and efforts. And I too would like to thank Dr. Clark and Dr. Brower and all the staff that worked on this extensive report. I've been on the board 9.5 years now. We've had versions of this that range anywhere from 1 slide to 114 slides. Generally, though, they tell the same story, which is that we are doing well. We're doing better than the state average, better than the district factor group average in most areas, and that usually takes up the bulk of the report, as this one did this year. But we also highlight where we need improvement and what we're going to do about that, whether it's over several slides or short and sweet, but we're always looking for those areas where we need to focus to improve our performance. And this year was no different. The one thing that's good about this year, though, I have to say, with 114 slides, is, as you know, I'm an engineer and I'm big on the data and making decisions on data and getting to the facts. And I won't bring up the solar panel project again, I promise you. But there are a lot of people that run around saying things about the district, attacking the district, saying we're not performing well, but their assertions are not based on the facts or the data. And when it comes election time, you sometimes get people that make up their own facts. But I'm happy to see, yet again, we have another well-documented report that tells us how the district is doing, and that it's doing very well. So I'd like to thank everyone who worked on this. I know there's quite a bit of information here. I'm assuming it'll go up on our website. So if you want to know how our district is doing, people out there in public, 114 slides worth. There are some summary slides if you don't want to read them all, but I suggest you go to our homepage and you get the facts here, and don't believe what you read on any one of the various blogs where people who don't have any time or inclination to actually get the facts post all kinds of nonsense. So, and with that, I'll end my comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. I too would like to thank all the students I know Taylor couldn't be here with us tonight, but we also congratulate her along with Aaron, Paul, and Winter Rose, the unsung hero. I know many of us in this room have seen these fine young men and women grow up. Makes us feel very old. But it also brings me to Mr. Shoebigger's comments, which is, can you measure everybody's worth by a test? And I think every teacher in here, every educator would say no. Because I'm sure you have students who have exceeded all your expectation, and they may only be getting a C on a test, but given where they started, they're your star student. The effort and the drive that they bring to whatever the subject is, but also too, the one thing that we appreciate in this community, and I know all the administrators out there do this, they highlight the good citizens in our community and those in our school building, and those we value just as much in Lacey. For the ones who look out for the other students who need a helping hand, who need some guidance, need some support, need some protection, and also to go out into the community and to give to others. You already heard, and you hear every month from the high schoolers what they are doing. They earned $321 for the food bank, all the schools, and that's why you do have to look at this wonderful report. Too much to discuss because all our students, all our teachers and administrators are working not just to make sure that our children can be successful, but that they give back to their community and to their other students. So I applaud all of you for working towards that, and we can't test that. And to me, that's a more valuable thing to learn moving forward in society, how to be a good member of society and to give back to your community. So I applaud you all. Thank you all for hanging in there with us tonight, and I think we're ready to start with new business on page 49. So in regard to A through J, is there a motion?
Move it.
Second? Oh, thank you. A roll call?
Mr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. McAvoy.
Yes, I'm abstaining on I. The rest, yes.
Mr. Marnak.
Yes.
Mr. Schubiger.
Yes.
Mrs. Terrell.
Yes. On page 54, in regard to donations, the school district would like to thank Mr. William Whitson for his contribution of a computer monitor and keyboard in value of $50. For Shopperoo School fundraising, a check donation to Lenoka Harbor for $82.07. For Target Take Charge of Education program, a check to Lenoka Harbor for $160.12. From Mr. and Mrs. Elias, a trumpet and case going to Cedar Creek in value of $300. From Mrs. Debbie Lima, children's backpack books to Mill Pond School for $140. Also from Mrs. Debbie Lima, Black Express markers to Mill Pond School in the value of $40. From Lacey Food Bank, backpacks filled with school supplies to the Forked River School at a value of $280. From Ms. Macalina Anderson, board games and puzzles to Forked River School in the value of $125. From Ms. K. Bosco, backpack filled with school supplies to Forked River School in the value of $25. From Lacey Home Depot, Husky Pro briefcases to Forked River School in the value of $555.57. And also from Home Depot, various supplies to Forked River School in the value of $200. On behalf of the Board of Education, I thank all of the donators. And do I have a motion?
Move.
Second?
I'll be second.
Roll call?
Mr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. McAvoy.
Yes.
Mr. Marnak.
Yes.
Mr. Schubiger.
Yes.
Mrs. Terrell.
Yes. Thank you. Now on page 55, item A, under programs and curriculum, do I have a motion?
Move.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Mr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. McAvoy.
Yes.
Mr. Marnak.
Yes.
Mr. Schubiger.
I'll abstain on everything. Thank you.
Mrs. Terrell.
Yes. On page 56, professional days, item A, do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. McAvoy.
Yes.
Mr. Marnak.
Yes.
Mr. Schubager.
Yes.
Mrs. Terrell.
Yes. Thank you. Now on page 57, A through G. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. McAvoy.
Yes.
Mr. Marnak.
Yes.
Mr. Schubager.
Yes.
Mrs. Terrell.
Yes. On page 59, support non-certificated staff, A through G. Motion?
Move.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Mr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. McAvoy.
Yes.
Mr. Marnak.
Yes.
Mr. Schubager.
Yes.
Mrs. Terrell.
Yes. And I believe that is it. Any, no add-ons? No? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.